Hi and welcome back to FindersBeepers History Seekers on the weekly recap. Now this week, I think you were all a bit worried and a bit scared, and so was I. I was petrified.
I am feeling scared, but I don't know where the house is that I'm looking for. I think it's in the middle of the woods, so I'm going to have to get into these woods, and they look dark. There's literally pitch black in every direction. There's nothing. Now I am genuinely feeling a little bit scared. It's all a bit creepy, this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not loving this at the moment. I do like being scared, but then there's a limit. I feel I've maybe reached my limit with this. This is like a proper murder shack, innit? This is like where you go to die in a horror film.
Now, as you can probably understand, it is quite a scary place to be, in the middle of nowhere, nothing nearby, in a big, massive house that you have no history on. And I'll get to that in a bit, because one of our subscribers has been amazing doing some research for me. So first up, one of the things we were talking about straight away was the little church, or what I thought was a church, and it was being used as a barn. Now, this place was a church, and I mentioned a minute ago about one of our subscribers doing some research behind the scenes. It's a lady called Gemma who lives right up in the north of Scotland, not too far, maybe an hour's drive from where I'd gone. So she got the local feelers out and found out a little bit more information. So the church was actually built in the 1700s. And it wasn't a massive church, as you could see. It was only a small sort of chapel. However, it attracted people from far and wide. And basically, the reason that they built this church was most of the family at the time were Catholics. And because of the Jacobite revolution, I think it was a revolution, a lot of people that were Catholics were getting sort of pulled in to the being classed as Jacobites, the Jacobite army, and were being persecuted and killed. So they changed it to a special sort of church that was more Protestant, and they converted to the Protestant faith. Now, without getting into all the nitty-gritty of the Catholic Church, the Protestant Church, and all that, basically they built this church so they didn't get their heads chopped off or their heads kicked in or whatever. And people came from far and wide to go to this church. Now, a little bit later on in the 1880s, up on the hill, they built a manse. Now, a manse was basically where the vicar at the time would live, and it was built in, I think, round about the 1880s. So roughly round the sort of time that I thought it would be. However, the church was about 100 years before that, so it was really, really old. The manse, I cannot find any information on at all other than it was a manse. So that's what that building that we went into was used for. The only other thing I can find is a couple of photos from the 1970s when the place was abandoned. I don't know whether it was abandoned in the 1970s or it was already abandoned in the 1970s, but it sort of sits in line with a lot of the decorations and stuff in there. So I'm reckoning it probably was round about that time.
Bear, shut up. Oh my God, what is that noise? Bear, shut up. Sit down. Sit. Upstairs. I think someone's here. I don't think you will have heard that noise, because I could only just hear it. I'm not gonna lie. It's taking me everything I've got inside to go up these stairs. I don't know what that noise was. I am genuinely scared. Oh my God. I don't think you're going to be able to hear it. It's so quiet. But it's like, people with earphones on, turn your earphones up in a minute and listen back. Let me just stop a minute. Can't hear it again now. Oh, Bear. What is it, Bear? Oh my God, he never barks unless there's somebody here. It could just be the bat, but I don't think it is. What have you heard, Bear? Oh my God, Bear, don't do this to me. He's looking out the front door and barking. Bear. Come on.
Next up is the debate round, was there somebody there? Was there ghosts there? Was it something else? Was it in my head? What was it that was making me so scared? Some people think that I was scaring myself or Bear was scaring me. Some people said that they thought there was definitely somebody there, and that's where I sit. I actually think there was somebody there. I don't think it was spooky, ghostly, whatever. I actually think there was somebody down there. That's what it sounded like to me. It sounded like someone trying to wind me up, and then I got myself more worked up, and then Bear barked, and then it made it worse. And then in the car when he was barking as well, I felt like somebody was there. Then other people were hearing noises. There was a sort of a strange noise at one point, but I don't know whether that was my bag brushing up against something.
Oh, that's just a water tank or something in there. Right.
It's all down to personal thoughts on these things. I think it was a person. A lot of you thought it was a ghost. Some of you thought it was all in my head. And we will never know. We will never know. But I'll tell you something. Bear was scared. And that brings me to the next bit.
You're looking. Bear, what is it? Is there somebody here? Is somebody here, Bear? You can hear something, can't you? Oh no, don't start barking because that means there is somebody here. Are we going back downstairs? Oh my God, he's looking as well. There, who is it?
So, over the last couple of videos, quite a few of you have mentioned Bear shaking. Now, two things. First, Bear and or every other terrier I've ever had have this sort of shake. They always do it. I don't know what it is. It's a terrier thing. I don't know whether it's been like on edge with nerves, whether it is just a natural shake or what. But he does do it more, I think, when he's concentrating on something. So I don't think it's a fear thing. I think it's more of a, I'm ready to go, I'm ready, that sort of thing. I don't think it's anything. Some people, in fact, have said that they thought he was poorly and there was something wrong with him. He does it at home. He'll do it laid on my bed. Like when I'm editing or something, he'll just be shaking away next to me and I'll have to tell him off. So, yeah, it's a terrier thing, I think.
That's where we came in. Why the hell is there a hatch to the bath? Just in case you want your dinner in the bath. What the hell is that all? Seriously though, what is that about?
Now, one of the other things that was mentioned was the bath next to the kitchen with the hatch. Now, I know that bathrooms through history, especially sort of from when they were brought inside, because a lot of bathrooms or toilets used to be outside in the Victorian era. You used to have your outside toilet, then you'd have a washroom. And the reason they brought the bathroom and put it next to the kitchen is because obviously you've got a washroom and you've got your kitchen and you do similar sorts of things in both. And then they brought the bath and the toilet and put it all in one room. And that's why they're next to the kitchen. That makes perfect sense. The thing that didn't make sense to me was the hatch. But at least one of you have mentioned that it could be to pass the hot water through to fill the bath. So when this place first opened, It could have been that there was no running water in that room. They could have boiled it on the stove in the kitchen and passed it through. That makes perfect sense. Some people have said that it's just a normal thing. That's how it would always be. I just think it's a bit odd that it's the kitchen and that, but I suppose that makes perfect sense.
That almost looks like a fake door as well. It's a bookcase. It feels like a fake door, but it would only go into this corridor anyway. I sort of get the cupboards. It's like a wardrobe. So you put your stuff in there, shut the door. I don't know why you'd need to lock it, but you'd shut the door. But this makes no sense. Why is there a door on it? Then there's a sink there. It's not like you can shut the door.
So we had one comment that mentioned the sort of doors that almost look like fake doors. And I get it now. It sort of does make sense what they've put. So you generally had one big room and then a smaller room next door. And the doors looked like they led through to the smaller room. So they were probably changing rooms, or maybe some other room, like with a toilet or a bath in there or whatever. And it used to go through, but now they've converted it to make more bedrooms. They don't need the interlocking door. The door that goes from one room to another. They don't need them anymore. Brain's gone. So yeah, they've probably blocked them up because of that. So that sort of does make sense, to be fair.
Now, I'm not sure what this is. It feels like it should move and it's got something hung on it. Is it for the fire? Is it to ring a servant? Or is it something to do with like the shutters on the windows? Because they had things like that for that as well. Look, there's one at each side. It's almost like it held something up. But I don't know what. I don't know what at all. Was it for a chandelier? Oh no, that's definitely not a chandelier. I don't know what it could have been for, I'm not sure. Oh look, those things were there. So they definitely were for a reason to go into the wall. But what for? I'm not sure. We've got the winder there that we keep looking at. Oh, and look. There's wires. And if I move that, they move. But then I've just noticed this up here. Is it a bell? Is it to ring for servants? Look, these are those things, look. These are the wires that lead up to like a lever system. It's got to be for bells or something. These will be the servants' quarters, won't they?
One of the other things he talked about were the things that you pulled that were next to the fireplace. Now, we've had a number of different things that could be. Flue for the fire. It could be the servants thing. Now, the thing about the servants' bells, there was two of them. There was one on each side. And I don't understand. One could be for the kitchen, I suppose. And one could be for a general servant. I don't get it. There seemed to be more than one in each room. And that's the bit I didn't get. Now, the only thing that did make sense was they seemed to go upstairs, and generally in these big houses the servants' quarters were on the top level, the smallest rooms, and that's when we went up those stairs. There was all the different servants' quarters at the top in the smaller rooms, so that does make sense, but I'm not sure why there would be two in there. It could be, like I said, one for the kitchen and one for the servants. Don't know, let me know what you think. Now, a couple of comments said that they thought the sound that I heard sounded like snoring, which, if I'm being honest, in person I don't think it did, but listening back it probably did sound like that. It was more like, the only thing I can explain is when somebody does a ghost impression and they're like, ooh,
Boo.
that sort of noise, or like if you've fallen off something and you're like winded yourself and you're like, oh, that sort of noise. It's like, I can't, it's a couple of weeks ago now, so it's hard to remember exactly, but that's what I thought at the time. Has somebody hurt themselves? Is somebody winding me up with a ghost noise? I don't know. I really don't know.
What's this? That's like something you use for panning for gold. What is that for? Is it just a sieve? It's like a homemade sieve.
And the last little thing that people mentioned was the sieve item, the one that I said looked like it was for panning for gold. Now, a lot of people have said it's something similar to that. It's a sieve that was used in the garden to go and get rocks out or something. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not really a gardener, so I don't really know these things, but that's what you guys seem to think it was. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the video. I love doing these recaps. I really, really do. I'm gonna maybe try and do some classic ones at some point. So some of our more famous, bigger videos and recap those as well, because I think some of them we found stuff about like afterwards, found more information afterwards, and we've never really told you. So it'd be good to do some classic ones, and I maybe save those for like the Christmas period, so you've got some extra videos to watch then. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'll see you later. Bye bye.